I'm going to go ahead and throw that down there. So hey everyone, welcome again to this week's members Q&A webinar. And those for you on Facebook, you get a little special treat because you don't have to be a member to actually watch this and check it out. So we wanted to invite you as a little looky-loo about being able to check in and just be able to see what it's like to be a member of Enter Shaolin. If you have some questions, Sifu Larry is going to send me over the questions. He's going to be manning the Facebook wall and page and all that good stuff. So real quick, a couple things that I wanted to cover real quick because we do have some people that are on the webinar live. We have some people that are not members probably watching on Facebook as well. And I just want to cover all the different places that you can access us. So if you're not on Instagram, on our Instagram for Enter Shaolin, it's Enter.Shaolin. We couldn't get Enter Shaolin for some reason, even though there's no user by that. We had to put a little dot, so it's Enter.Shaolin that you can find us at. There's some really cool videos if you haven't seen them yet, and if you're not already following us there. I did some bone conditioning with my training partner yesterday, and yeah, so Sifu Larry wanted to film that. It's gotten some good responses. A lot of people like it. I guess, you know, you guys just like seeing people in pain for some reason. But it was funny because I hadn't actually done any bone conditioning in 2 weeks, and I was like, hey, Larry, I think I need a bone condition. And like, I'm feeling like I need a bone condition. So, you know, it's funny as you get doing these things and you get used to them, you just want to do more and keep excelling and being a better martial artist. And then my partner came in, Kevin, and he was like, hey, can we do bone conditioning? I'm kind of missing that. So we were on par. It was hilarious. And it was fun and kind of painful at the same time. And rewarding. Yeah. So one thing that I noticed since the past month that I've been bone conditioning is now with my shins, I can kick another person's shins or get them kicked and it doesn't hurt. Like at first it was like the most painful part of bone conditioning for me. My ribs still, like when they get kicked and stuff, they're still pretty sore, but everything else is definitely building up really, really fast. And so that's exciting to see that quick of a progress. So if you haven't started bone conditioning, don't be afraid. Start, you know, slow, steady. Make sure you and your business, not your business partner, your training partner, you know, don't, you know, have like, you know, giant black and blue bruises and stuff like that where you can barely move the next day. You know, take it easy. Like Sifu Phu says, you know, if you can't handle, you know, 10 at that speed or whatever, like you gotta, you know, keep going, okay, lighter, and just keep moving. You shouldn't have to be like, oh my God, I'm sore for like ever afterwards. You know, you might have to rub it out a little bit, but that's about it. So if you're not bone conditioning, I highly recommend it. It definitely will help you be able to take better strikes and kicks. So let's see, Melanie. So Melanie wrote into us throughout earlier in the week, and she was saying, I don't know, for those of you that were not on the webinar last week, we talked about being able to slow down videos and do slow motion. And our camera does have that capability, but because the amount of videos that we're having to do, and we're still getting through a lot of the core training, we're not able to make those extra videos. But it is something that we have planned on going back and doing like bits and pieces of different techniques that we feel would be beneficial for that. But Melanie suggested that YouTube has where you can slow down the videos. And yes, it does have that. We are aware of that. But our videos that are in our training site are not hosted on YouTube. And there's a couple of reasons why they're not hosted on YouTube. One, even if we mark them where they were private, people could still technically find them if they are creative enough. Two, the other reason is if for some reason someone decided to be a major jerk and try to get our channel shut down and it actually got shut down, that would mean literally hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of videos for our paid members would just go overnight. And we would have to literally scramble to upload all those. And if you can imagine how long that would take, it would take weeks, maybe even months to get all that data back up. So that's why we don't use that. We use a paid service for hosting our membership videos inside the site. We use YouTube as a way to reach out to people and get access to them. So maybe we'll do some things, or you can actually go slow down, you know, any of our videos that are on YouTube. But for our actual paid membership, that is something that we'll have to do with our camera at a later point in time. So I hope that makes sense for everyone. But yeah, YouTube has that option if you don't know about it. And Melanie said she got to see like a hummingbird like really, really slow down, and that was really cool.
Does the website on the video player, essentially it's easier to get plugins to have it automatically slow down? Feasible?
Vimeo Pro does not have that option, but that is something that I can recommend to them. And if enough people using Vimeo recommend it, I know they're always constantly updating their player, but they definitely, I would say the Vimeo, like, because there is a free Vimeo as well. If you go to vimeo.com, there's people that you can watch stuff on there. And I think it's just a different, it's more professional people that go there. It's definitely not the same YouTube crowd that goes there. It's a lot of, film producers or like indie, type of makers and stuff like that. So a lot of times I think it's not stuff that needs to be slowed down, and maybe that's why they've never implemented that. There's no need. It's not as much like the stuff we're doing. We don't use it for like advertising purposes like we do with YouTube, where we put a lot of free stuff, just because on there we don't get as much traction, because we did try that out. We were looking at it to see like, okay, if we put all of our free videos on both platforms, what kind of traffic are we gonna get? Is this a viable thing for us to do? Does it make sense? And it actually does not make sense on Vimeo. There actually isn't much of a traction in a market for us on Vimeo. So we use their pro service as our hosting. But yeah, I will definitely submit that as a suggestion to them, because it doesn't hurt to ask, right? The worst that you're gonna get is a no, and you might get a yes, so. All right, so let's see what else we got going on here. So real quick, I just want to say a shout out to everyone that is actually on the webinar with us, and that's Albin, Caleb, David, Dominic, Gregory, Melanie, and Richard. By the way, thank you everyone that was supportive and okay with us having to change the time. Sifu Larry's daughters, as well as my own daughter, at their school event, had this, we call it International Day, and they get to perform and all this cool stuff, so we had to reschedule. Unfortunately, I didn't get to go with my Jaya this morning because she woke up sick and she was just all upset. So I spent the morning taking care of her and trying to make her feel like not too sad that she missed her big giant event.
I spent the morning with my oldest daughter to get her driver's license.
Nice.
She got a license today.
That's awesome. Are you little worried?
I mean, also nervous too.
Well, nervous.
I told her she can't drive far. I mean, she got to drive locally, get the experience.
Right.
Branch out as she gets better.
Can I have you scoot up a little bit, because we've had a couple people that say they can't hardly ever hear you. So
I can speak a lot louder.
You can do
I'm
that
just
too.
afraid I might be too overwhelming.
You might be. So yeah, well, I'll try to do my best. Like, I don't know if you noticed, like last week I was trying to move it when they were further away and stuff like that. So we are trying to figure out some kind of balance with the sound and make it a lot easier for you listening to be able to enjoy the sound.
I'll keep in mind to project my voice very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, and for you that on Facebook that have questions, just make sure you type them. Sifu Larry is going to submit them for me over here. For those of you on the webinar, make sure you use the Q&A section for that, just because it'll help me separate the conversation that's going on in the chat from the actual Q&A, and that way I don't miss anyone. Also, same thing, if you just want to say yes or hey or something that's not a question, please use the chat. So that way I don't have a bunch of stuff that isn't actually relevant. I appreciate it, everyone. Let me see. I'm just going to look at the chat real quick. So yeah, Melanie said you were asking her about how the technique worked. She said the student who asked about it didn't come to class last week. Lots of students on vacation. And yes, Melanie, that would be a major nightmare if we used YouTube and someone decided to be a jerk. We've heard so many horror stories. As some of you know, Sifu Larry and myself have been internet marketers for quite some time, over a decade for both of us. And yeah, we've heard some major horror stories of people's, total, empire, basically their whole business just crashing overnight and having to rebuild fresh. And that, some people are understanding when that happens and some people are not. So that would be horrible.
We learn from others' mistakes.
Yes, absolutely. Everyone should, and learn from your own mistakes as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started with Q&A. All right, let me, give me a moment. I have to clear out some of these non-questions in the Q&A. That's why I said that earlier, because we had a bunch of things coming through. Sifu Larry said, did Sifu Phu really run here? I don't know.
From the car to the building. I did do that.
He did do some running. So Dominic says, I did Jiao Sao with Greg and Kevin on Wednesday. Hey, I heard about that. I was training with Kevin and doing the bone conditioning and everything yesterday. He did tell me about that. First off, ouch. Yeah, of course, ouch. There's a lot of pain and growth He says, I stink at it. Of course you do. You're just getting started. But hopefully someday I'll feel it out. Of course, the more practice you get, the more you're going to be able to feel it out. He says, I use soreness as a gauge to figure out if I'm using the right muscles and my lats are sore. To me, this is good since I'm supposed to be driving from shoulder to elbow to wrist. You forgot that part. What are your thoughts?
If your back's sore, it's not right because it should be forward energy. Backward, your lats are backwards motion. So somewhere along the lines, every time he's pulling you, you're more likely resisting him, and that's causing the back to hurt. You should only create forward energy. So if you do feel your lats are sore, you're not doing it right. Okay, if anything, you're gonna feel from the shoulders to the arms to the wrist. They should be, you feel your chest, but really not your back. A lot of times, you can feel your back if you're punching very, very fast and then you're pulling it short. You're gonna use your back muscle to stop that forward energy. That's when you can feel it. Or most of the times, which I didn't see it, so I can't tell, but based on what you're telling me, your back's sore because every time you get pulled, you're stopping the pull and you're creating a backwards energy. So that's most likely what it is. It's just a guess based on what you're saying. I have to see it to know it. So, but most of the time, based on what people say, I'm pretty accurate because I know how people's body works. So it's more or less you're pulling when you're getting pushed or pulled. So you want to push when you're getting pulled and drive your hand to a woo to go up rather than try to stop the pull and go back. That's usually kind of what people feel the back for.
Yep. All right. So Dominic says, I guess it's the upper shoulder and the back versus the lats. Fair enough. Thank you. All right. So while I wait for some more Q&A from Facebook as well as from our webinar peeps, I'm going to go to the emails because we did get quite a few people that came in. So Bob, who was not able to be here during this time, said he sent this in just in case, and it was a good thing that he did. He says, I have done some Qigong research and there are exercises for specific things such as for back pain, relieve stress, relieve anxiety, etc. Can we expand more in the Qigong on the website to include these areas also, as I feel it will be very beneficial?
Working on it. Yes, we have it. We're working on it.
Absolutely. But I will say what is already there, especially with just the 10, already addresses those things. So don't think just because we don't label them as back pain or relieve stress or relieve anxiety that they're not helping with those things, because they are. But yes, there is a bunch of specific moves. There's tons.
There's also the Qigong exercise.
Yeah, Qigong.
And then there's the core exercise that you can do that is beneficial for like back and anxiety. Even like when they say one of the best things to do when your body's very, very stressed is to actually stress the body even more, because when you do that, it causes the body to get very, very tired, and then your body will naturally relax. So that is a method that you can do through the core training. There are things that will help you that way as well. Don't think core training is all about beating you up and doing it. It all depends on how you do it. Lifting weights can wind up helping you, it can wind up hurting you. It all depends on how you do it. So if you're doing it more for releasing of stress, or you're doing it for anxiety, those are mental state first. It's not physical, so it's mental. So you have to be aware of what's causing your mental stress, and you have to learn how to focus that energy into something. For example, me, when I have a long day, I love to play video games. That's my release mentally. So I get away from the world. I like thinking and strategizing people. So I play a lot of games where I just take my mind out of this world, and I just focus on trying to outthink people. Now, it can be good because when I win, I'm happy. When I'm losing, I'm like, oh, he outsmarted me. But really, it's my way of releasing my mental stress, which then, the mental stress causes physical stress. And they do go hand in hand. Now, you can get the body stress on physical things like jobs, contract, but a lot of times it's like an average day for the average person, and you're stressed mainly in your body. It's because of your mind first, okay? It's one of the reasons why they say a lot of people can't sleep, because they can't stop thinking. If you're worried about a bill, you can't sleep, you're restless because you can't stop thinking. And that's why your body can't shut down. Your mind has to relax. That's why when you play form, your Tai Chi, you say, empty your mind, empty your thoughts, and let your body relax and feel that. And your mind must be one with the body and all that stuff. If your mind's engaged in something else, then your body can't connect to the mind.
He wanted to know also if you can give a fast example of how to relieve anxiety for basically wants to teach a child that's having some emotional problems.
Again, it's a mental state. Emotional problems is of the mind, it's not the body. The body responds to that. But, like one of my lectures, I talk about mind your thoughts. because that responds to your emotion. Mind your emotion because that responds to your heart rate. Mind your heart rate because that responds to your blood flow. Mind your blood flow because that responds to chi. So what you think is how you feel. How you feel is how your body's going to react, and how your body's going to react is going to send your energy level. Just like I say all the time, if you just won the lottery, it was $100 million, you know, you're excited about it. So you're and the next day you're gonna get the check. You can't sleep. Like, oh my God, I get so much money. Your body gets excited. But at the same note, on the opposite side, if somebody you love that you really cared about, were very close to, passed away, and it was somebody, like I said, you really were connected to, you could be sad just by the thought of it. Nothing physically affected you. Just the thought did that. And when the thought happens that way, then your body's going to naturally, you know, you're emotionally depressed, and so your body's going to want to shut down. It's not going to want to eat. It's not going to move. And it comes down to the emotional state. There are training techniques where you empty your mind to get the body to connect to it. And there are techniques, and all the Qigongs, all the Tai Chis, they're all that way. All the internal styles are made that way. You're supposed to connect the mind and the body together. What was I going to say? I lost my train of thought there. But when your body is relaxed, it's because mainly your mind's relaxed. Now, like I said, there are physical things, like if you're working out in the lumber yard, you're lifting, you're stressing your body all the time. But on the good note is when the body's that tired, you tend to go on the couch, I had a long day. And your body wants to shut down, so your mind. But if your mind can't shut down, then the body can't too. If you're constantly worried, you're going to stress the body. So a lot of those exercises that we do, we teach you how to do that. One of the things that you can tell your child, if he's is like, give him like something that he can focus into that he enjoys.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
For video games, for his hobbies, that'll relax him. That'll actually get him to focus and get the body to connect, especially if he's doing something like building puzzles or building jigsaws and creating artwork sometime, playing on the music. He's connecting the thoughts into the body, and he's transferring that thought and the feeling out in the body, like playing music and stuff like that. So that, you know, you don't have to do exercises in terms of like just Qigong. There's other avenues of doing it, and it depends on that person, you know, to do that.
Yeah, some of the stuff, because my daughter has been dealing with a lot of anxiety and as well as depression and just like emotional outbursts and things like that we're working through. You know, one, if you haven't already explored this, you know, maybe finding a faith-based Christian counselor, because I know that you're a Christian as well, Bob. So that might be something that you might want to look at as well. And then inside the home, just finding stuff that brings them joy and happiness. I'm working with Jaya doing the 10 basic Qigong exercises because they help calm her down and just relax and get that body, you know, and mind and spirit just, you know, flowing good. And she also really resonates with yoga. So we've been working on doing some yoga exercises too, because it's something that she really enjoys. And then like Sifu said, finding other things that are outlets for them that they really enjoy. For Jaya, she loves doing art. So I'm always finding different like hands-on type of things that we can do that help her be creative. And then she also likes, like, when we like to be silly and dance. So we'll usually, you know, a couple times a day, at least one time a day, we'll put on some of our favorite praise and worship music, and we'll just dance to the Lord till our heart's content and just, you know, have a good old time. And, you know, sometimes we'll be silly, sometimes we won't be silly when we're dancing, but we just let loose and have fun. So, you know, talk to your child and find out what makes them happy, makes them just elated, and find more ways to incorporate those things and get them to do some Qigong with you. So number 2, with respect to NDN, I was asked by several people this week so far if I was learning about JKD. Several nurses and aides are interested in this, and I was watching the videos on the site when they came to take my vitals and give breathing treatments. My answer was no. This is how my Sifu was taught by his grandfather. But I was wondering, is this not close to the JK system? Why or why not? JKD, sorry, yeah. JKD system.
Well, for Bruce Lee with the JKD, he said use anything that works with you. So what he did was, if this didn't work for you, then use this that works for you. So he was saying, take what works for you, okay? Disregard what style is, disregard this, disregard that. So that was his idea. So he was saying, apply what's useful, throw away what's not. For us, it's not about that. It is and it isn't. We're about the energy. The energy principles that we use is all useful. So you want to use that. So we adhere to the principles of how energy works, not necessarily to the technique. Whereas a guy might want to throw a punch this way, and another guy might want to throw this way. It's fine. In Jeet Kune Do, he would say, listen, you like this way, you work this way. And you don't do this if that's not comfortable, do it this way. Whereas Ngo Dac Na says, If you like to do it that way, here's a way to do it efficiently and effectively. Use the Ngo Dac principles to help you that way. And that's the difference. It refines your movement no matter what it is you do. Whereas Bruce Lee's Jeet Kune Do was like, use this what's comfortable for you, use that what's comfortable for you, what works for you, not necessarily adhere to a style. We're not a style. We're about the energy principle. So anything that Bruce Lee's like say, what works for you, great. Now, the Ngo Dac Na will say, take what works for you, and here's how to maximize and optimize it to the best it can work for you.
Right.
And so that's really the difference. Ours is about the energy principles and the controlling that energy, not necessarily what's comfortable to use for you. You know, for Jeet Kune Do, it's like personal, whatever you like or don't like, what's comfortable for you in movement. Whereas Ngo Dac Na says, now that you picked it, we're going to enhance it to the best it can be. And that's really the difference.
Yeah, that's a great way to look at that. That makes a lot of sense. He had one more question. I was asked by Dominic if the sensitivity we learned here is the same as I learned in Aikido. My answer was yes and no. Yes, because we look for the opponent's weak point unbalanced and we attack that, but there are really, and we attack that, but there really is no feeling that we try to achieve as in giving the energy back. So this made me think of ways to incorporate sensitivity into Aikido, but I'm at a loss as to where some of this will fit in with other than the strikes. So could you show how a simple wrist lock with how you would move the energy is moved and all that stuff? Basically, he wants you to beat up Sifu Larry.
Okay. When we talk about
and he said that. He said that. I didn't add that in. So Sifu Larry.
When we talk about sensitivity, okay, there's a difference between feeling it and then there's a next step in dealing with it. So feeling it is receiving it. Dealing it is responding to it. So when you talk about your sensitivity, yeah, sensitivity is yes and no. You're all learning to feel sensitivity. You know, a lot of styles have sensitivity. But the way you handle it, that's where the difference is. That's why Tai Chi works a certain way, Wing Chun works a certain way, or a system of Ngo Dac Na works a certain way. So sensitivity is to teach you three things. And if you can understand that, okay, it teaches you when someone's attacking, where they're trying to attack, and to what extent. That's what sensitivity is for. What you do with it and how you do with it, that's your technique.
Right.
Okay, and so there's a difference because sensitive is only to feel. How you handle that feel is your technique and response. So when you're talking about, oh, well, how I incorporated Aikido, listen, it's all the same. I don't care about style. Style don't mean anything. To me, a punch is a punch is a punch, a kick is a kick is a kick. But the question is how you do it. That's what matters. So when you talk about a wrist lock, for example, okay, and which wrist lock is it for you that's good? Well, your hands bad or good. So you see this? Most people, when they think about like a lock in Aikido, and I'm not going to answer for everyone. I'm just saying the mental state of the average person is when they think the lock, they think that the result is a takedown. So they try to turn them because they want to take them down.
He's taking you down.
Okay? So you're not trying to take the guy down. It's not about that. When you're locking someone, it's about locking them. And if you effectively lock them, the result is a takedown. But people's mindset is, I got to try and take the guy down. So they kind of make the lock fuzzy a little bit. So they'll go for a pull, and then they'll try to turn the guy down on a lock. And that's the wrong focus. Your job is to do point control. So I'm not trying to take him down. I'm going to point control the wrist. So I'm going to pull the thumb out, pull the energy away, make the curve through the thumb so you can see my hand. I'm going to take the energy from here, bring it to here, which is locked into the back as a focal point. I'm going to use that pivoting point to create this to turn. I'm going to send that towards the wrist. So when he fights me, right, and you can see if I do this slow, am I turning his wrist or am I pulling right there? I'm pulling. If I do this, am I turning or am I pushing? I'm pushing. And I'm going to push to try and turn afterwards. Well, the guy can fight you at that point. Okay? If I do this, fight me all you can. I just concentrate on the point. And the result is that. I was in Pittsburgh and I came across someone who was like trained for like about 40 years, as long as I've been alive, really. I mean, 20 years, as long as I've been alive, for 20 years. As long as I've been alive for 20 years. 22 years. I don't look that young. 23 years, let's say. But
hold on, there's something weird I could put on here that will make us look younger, but it was really freaky. I was testing. There's this setting where you can.
I just look younger now.
Well, no, but it like literally smooths out everything where you look like you're like a porcelain doll. I was like, that's creepy. Why would you have that setting? All right, go ahead. Sorry.
But anyways, he was training for 40 years, twice the age of my life. But we were talking about, he was very impressed with my energy system. He was talking about wrist locks, and he would say, you know, when we do, we yank them and do this. So, because they're very strong, it's like, you know, if you do the energy right, you don't need to yank them. You can use energy against them. Hell yeah, but if they're fighting you, a lot of times I feel like it's hard. So we always say we try to jerk them to get their concentration off. I said that's all fine and dandy, but if a guy won't lose his concentration, how are you gonna lock him? So I said, here, do me a favor, just lock me out. And I gave him my wrist, and he said, well, it's no good because you're already gonna tense and fight me. I was like, listen, I'm gonna give you half the energy. I'm not gonna fight you. I'm just gonna work with your energy. I'm gonna show you what I mean by this, about the imbalances that people create. So when he locked me, let's say Sije Jamie locked me, and she gives me a pull, do a wrist lock. So you can see two hands.
Two hands.
Yeah,
No, we do both. Okay.
Let's just say, so she does a wrist lock, and she's gonna move me this way. So I moved it this way. I said, see, you didn't go to my wrist. You went for the motion.
Right.
So then he tried to create a pull into himself before he locked me. So I just pushed it in. I said,
you're pushing in the face.
So, you know, I was showing him his imbalance. I said, what you create is an imbalance. And so because you have a weak point trying to go for strong, but he's just fighting on your weak point and you can't lock him. So when he did it, he couldn't do it to me. And I said, listen, I'm going to do it to you. And I said, I want you to fight me with all your strength. And then, you know, I just said, go. And he went down. And I said, let's do it again. I'll count to 3. And on 3, I'll do it very slowly. And I said, you can move your hand, you can pull, you can do this. And I still locked him down. And I said, if you think it's my size, there was a guy who was like 6'3", like 225, 30 pounds, standing next to me. I said, can I use you for a second? So I had him fight me, and I did it, and I locked him. I said, it's effortless because I'm not fighting your strength. I'm utilizing it, and I'm returning to point. And that's what we want to learn to do. Our execution is in our technique. Our field to respond is our sensitivity. So how quickly you respond to someone's energy, that's your sensitivity. How well you execute your technique to that sensitivity is your technique. So what you're feeling in failure a lot of times when you're feeling someone's movement, you can't do it. It's not because your sensitivity failed you, because you did respond. Sometimes when I punch into people, they tense up like, oh, I couldn't feel it in time. I was like, yeah, you did feel it because you reacted to it, but you just dealt with it wrong. You felt it, but you dealt with it wrong. So you fought it. You didn't collapse it, but you fought it. You didn't execute the proper technique to counter because you were too busy trying to stop it. So yes, I understand sensitivity is all about feeling to initiate an energy control. But your technique is how you efficiently execute that technique. So when you're talking about the sensitivity in Aikido and whatever style, I don't care what style you are, but whatever it is you're doing, you got to mix. That's why it's body, right? Your physicality, your technique, and your sensitivity. They are all interrelated. They are tied in together. And I talked about this in one of my lectures and everything. You have your technique, this like here, and you have your sensitivity and your physicality. They are shared by the technique because, you know, your technique enhances your physicality. You might be fast and strong. Technique will optimize it. And your sensitivity will tell you how to do it. But if your technique is off, you're not going to execute the proper counter techniques or attacking techniques to take someone if your technique's off. So your technique is your center point between your physical and your sensitivity. And they share that common through the technique. And that's why of the 3, they're all important. But of the 3, it's your technique that makes the difference. If you understand what I'm saying.
So yeah, so energy principles can be applied to Aikido, anything that you can do. It's just a matter of really learning the Ngo Dac Na system and then playing around with whatever style that you're with and
so
keeping
you can
those
make the proper execution. Most people fail it not because they can't feel it. It's how they deal with it is the problem.
Right.
And we're all about understanding how the energy moves and controlling the energy, not overpowering it, overwhelming it, shutting it down because when someone is much stronger than you physically, you're not going to do it. So you have to understand how to use his energy against him. Not his strength, it's his force. Remember, if he's using strength and you're feeling it, it's because you're overcoming it by going the opposite direction or trying to overcome it. You're going the opposite direction. When we feel someone's energy move to try and, like, for example, if I do this and I turn Sije Jamie's hand, she might want to fight it the opposite way, right? So she'll fight it so I can't. So she'll turn this way naturally if I turn this way and prevent me. So when I feel her hand go that way, I'm going to move it and return it. So rather than try to fight that motion, because she's going to try to naturally resist me somehow to stop the motion. So when I feel that opposite force that she's giving me, I'm going to utilize it. I'm going to curve it back to her. And that's why it won't matter how strong she is, because I can always return it. It only matters when I decide to fight it, not work with it and convert it.
Right on. So Melanie says, when I'm practicing my Tai Chi and Qigong, I'm thinking about the form. When I get good at it, should I be able to do it with a blank mind?
I'm sorry, I wasn't thinking. No, I'm kidding.
She said she doesn't do a blank mind.
My mind was blank because I was thinking of nothing. No, but there's a point when you play your Tai Chi, you start to feel it. It's not a thought. It's a feel. It's just, I don't know what to say. Your blank mind. You're a state of awareness. That's the best thing I can say. You're just aware. You're just aware of everything. You're aware of the pulse in your body. You're aware of the weight. You're aware of how your back is. Your hips are. You just can feel
You're just
every point.
with
Yeah,
your
you're
body.
connected, and you just have this awareness of you. So, and your mind just kind of receives it. It recognizes it. It's not processing anything. It's just recognizing. So,
it just means you're not going to be thinking, Melanie, because I have the same problem too. So I have ADD and my mind's always like thinking about a bazillion and one things. And I'm also like a Virgo Libra. So like I can think of every scenario like you can ever think of, right? Every possibility, like it's a blessing and a curse because you're like really brilliant, but like it's insane sometimes in your head. But with doing more Tai Chi and Qigong and just your martial arts in whole, it will make your brain just slow down, relax, chill. And when you need to have a bazillion one ideas, you have it there, it's available to you, but you're not going to be plagued with it and you'll be able to do your form better. So yeah, it's just a matter of being consistent and continuing on. It'll all work itself out.
The best example I can give you is like when you play music or when you dance, you feel the music.
Right.
It's inside you coming out. And the Tai Chi is the same. It's really no different. It is physical and it comes from the internal. So dancing is internal. You know, playing music, it comes from the internal. If you're playing external, you never sound great. You can sound good, but the great people always feel it. And that's the same.
Right.
When you're dancing to music, you know, you don't think about your steps. You just feel the beat and your body just moves with it. It just has a nice sway.
And if you are thinking,
form,
people will know.
Yeah, people
because you're going to look on.
People counting steps to dance versus people feeling steps to dance. The greatest dancers don't think about how to dance. They feel it and they can tell how to move. And that's the same thing with your form. There's really no difference in the two because it is physical. That's from internal. So yeah, it's the same. That's the best alternate answer I can give you as well.
Yes, you'll become immersed in the field, Melanie. That's exactly right. So just be patient with yourself. It will all come together when it's supposed to.
Hi, Liran.
Hey.
Laila Tov.
What's up? Shabbat Shalom, Liran.
Yes.
David says, yes, I practice Silm Tao for health. How does one achieve a best relaxed posture? I heard you say if you fill your lungs with air, you will have good posture. And I like to practice it slow.
Just if you're on the site, look up the Qigong and the 10 rules of your posture, like, you know, highest heaven, lowest earth, shoulders aligned with the waist and everything like that. They are your postures to get in the right structure for you. And again, the deep breath is good because if people have a slouching problem. So, you know, take that deep breath, get that used to it. And once your body starts getting used to it, you do feel when you slouch. You start to recognize that. Like, oh, wow, this harder to breathe. This does feel more uncomfortable. So yeah, once you start doing that right, you will tell the wrong. Okay, you need to know what right is to tell what wrong is. You need to know what wrong is to tell what right is. So make sure you get your posture up, get that deep breath. When you play form, play it relaxed is fine. You know, feel it going to your wrist at all times. That's all I can tell you. And concentrate and make sure that you're rooted. That's very important too. Feel the front ball to your heel being flat and the left and the outside and the inside of your feet flat to the ground. So it's even pressure all around your feet. And make sure your hips turn forward and then play form. And remember, feel it going to your hands to your wrist. Okay, the hand should feel stronger in the motion that way.
Hey, Bob, glad that you were able to make it on. Just to let you know, we'd covered your questions. They were some of the first ones we covered, so you'll have to watch the replay later so you can see what we said. And to let you know, also, I talked to Zoom about your problem. You and I are going to have to schedule a time that we can do Zoom together and figure it out because I think, according to them, there should be a way for you to change it. So we'll have to do a live thing together and one-on-one, and we'll figure it out so you'll be good to go next time. Melanie says that she wasn't able to see some of the other people. Oh, sorry. No, Dominic said, I'm not able to get all the panelists and attendees. Oh, okay. Oh, you're on the app right now too. Okay. So yeah, once I figure that out with Bob, I'll let you know. For those that are like, hey, why can't I see other people's stuff? If they are just writing to us, the panelists, you won't actually see what they're physically saying in the chat, Melanie, because I know you were wondering why you couldn't see them. And some of the stuff we're also reading from email, so you won't see that stuff there as well. Oh, you're on the PC now. Okay, on the PC, all you have to do, or at least that's how it looks on my screen. I don't know if Mac is different than PC. Where you type your message, there is like a kind of bluish purple thing that says all panelists or whatever you're on, there's a little arrow. If you click on that, it will allow you to choose all panelists and attendees. And that will make it where you can do that. One of them has a radio button to switch. Are you able to switch? No? I'm not sure what's going on with that. I don't know. We have a set where everyone can do that. It's already listed as that. So I'm not sure. If you want, I can schedule a one-on-one with you too, with you using that computer, and you can share your screen with me and we'll be able to see if we can figure it out together, Dominic. Maybe Zoom has a problem, or I don't know. I'm not sure. So we'll have to figure that out together. Yep, Melanie, yours is set to everyone. David says, yes, thanks. Everything in life is better with your ears over your shoulders.
It's still not good.
Hold on. That would be uncomfortable, right? Sifu Larry says from Facebook, Liren says, can you please show us how you counter kicks with a slant kick?
What kind of kicks? Front kick, side kick, round kick? It depends on what kind of kick you're talking about. So I need.
Give us a specific kick, Liren, that you'd want him to counter with a slant kick, and we will have Sifu Larry come and do that.
I can show you some basic concepts of what a good slant counter attack kick would be. If you're asking how it would intercept, again, it's going to depend on the kick. But a lot of times when you see a kick coming, you can sidestep into a slant kick to kick the standing leg. That to me is one of the most effective things you can do. If a guy has long reach, then yeah, you have to attack him by the legs then. And sometimes you have to use your hands. It all depends on your range, and that comes down to your judgment of knowing what to do. If a guy's got he's 6'10", he's got very long legs, you're not going to come in and kick his leg. It's just too long. So you would have to attack the leg that's sticking out for you. If he's close, then you can attack the standing leg. If not, you can intercept the kick with the kick. And again, it's going to come down to your skill level, what you see, how you react. But I can show you some of the techniques that you need to do that. So if I can have Sifu Larry here.
Sifu Larry.
On some of the basics of a slant kick. And
a round kick.
A round kick?
A round kick.
All right. Here we go.
So when a person is standing in a certain way, you need to see what kind of stance they're taking to be able to read that. So based on what you are seeing, you need to know how to respond to. For example, if you had this leg in the back and he's more towards his lead leg, more than likely he's going to give you a rear leg kick because he can't kick from the lead leg because it's weighted. So you gotta see that. When people are walking like this, like this, and they're kind of walking back and forth, a lot of times a forward slant kick to the knee right then and there is more than sufficient enough. So if he's like this, and he's walking in on me, like I would go into that quick. If I'm far away, I will jab him with a slant kick. I will use a distraction to go straight in on someone who's not attacking you at the moment. He's going to respond to you. He's definitely going to respond to you quickly. You need to create distraction points, because if I'm going like this, just to stop me from kicking you here. So if I'm like this, he can just bring his hands down. But if I'm like this, and now it's a little harder for him to do. So now I have a better, faster attack on him. So distraction is one of the best, what they call feigning. Feigning for the kicks are really quick to create a counter kick if you see his weight down about to kick. So you take a preemptive not just on kicking him like this, because he can respond. Always create this. Always create that type of thing. And it's much, much quicker for you. Especially, like I said, when you watch him put his weight on his lead leg, then you can, because it's very hard for him to get out. He's going to be distracted by blocking his head, hands to his head, and then the leg's there for you to expose. If he's throwing a round kick, now depending on whether it's to my thigh, or to my ribs or to my face. In the MMA, it's very common on the thigh, and then it's more common to the head. Okay, so if he's kicking my thigh, I just want to come up and just bring it towards the center. So I just want to come up like this. I see it, I come up like this one. Now, the idea is you're not going to block. If you block, you're going to probably bounce off a hard kick. You want to hit him. Okay, so don't kick hard. Okay, I'm not. You're going to do this. And you want to create a kick, wow, a quick kick. It's not a block. If you block, you're receiving the energy. You cannot block. Blocking means that he's probably more likely going to knock you backwards a little bit if he had a strong kick. You got to throw the energy into the heel from the ankle. So do it slow. You're going to have the chamber up, and you're going to pull your toes towards your shin. At that time, when you throw the heel out. Because the ankle must come towards your shin while the heel can come out. The idea is keep it tight. Don't reach. Don't do like this and reach out because you're actually overextending. Let him come to you. The more you can push forward, the more exposed he becomes. Also, the more committed he becomes, so it's hard for him to counter. And the third thing is when he reaches out, he's towards the end of his explosion. So the energy becomes less and less and less, especially if you're going to drive it from the shin to the knee. Like that. So when a guy's kicking here like this, just wham, and just focus on just quick hit to stab, not to push. You don't want to play like this and you're going like you don't want to push somebody. You're gonna get knocked backwards quick. You gotta think of hitting. You gotta think of attacking or counterattacking. In this case, we counterattack if you initiate. If I'm like this, I go. You see, I'm very tight. You see, I'm very tucked in. I get a good root from my body. I'm using the other leg now. So you see, I can I create a kick. Now, like everything, it takes skill, okay? You can't just throw your legs out. You can't be like, just throw, because you can slouch, you can fall. You gotta know how to root. You gotta know how to snap all the energy into the heel. If he's kicking me towards my ribs, I just want to pick, I like to call them the wall blocks. All I'm doing is just bring my arms up and I just make it very, very solid. I turn my wrist and snap my forearm bone at the last second. So he feels a snap come into him. So I'm not doing this where you see I'm just kind of pushing down. I actually you can see this upward motion and the turning at the same time. That when he's kicking, I just create this quick hit through the turning of the wrist and the drive of the arm. And same goes to the head. If it was like this way, I just turn the bone slightly up and I just turn it and I create the hit through the torquing and the driving. But you see, I don't extend. You can do a life support, but you don't see me extend like this. You don't hit him. You go over him. You need to feel this solid base with the drive up and the turn of the wrist. And that way, when he hits you, you're attacking from underneath and you're going to twist it and it's going to turn his energy off a little bit while attacking at the same time. So that's basically like a basic concept to do when you're getting kicked from a round kick from like a low, mid to high. If you're just talking about like the slant kicks are used from mid-range to close range. They're not made to go far. So if you are far, you have to shuffle. Okay, so if you're very far, you might want to shuffle in like this. Here, and he's kicking me, I just shuffle into that so I can get my base in. And the other thing, like I said, is if you're going to do a preemptive, if you see guys more or less going like this with his weight, preemptive and just go into the shuffle into a side kick. Side kick's better than slant kick. I would never just go straight in with my hands like this. Side kick gives you more range, or if you're going to take a preemptive, and just shoot it on in, and it would be your best way.
David says, working on my balance on the last kick and Chum Kyul. Can you talk a little bit about the subject?
About Chum Kyul or the kick?
The last kick. Chum Kyul.
You're talking about from this part, from here, from the T-stop, slant kick, chamber into a side kick like that. Okay. If you're working on your balance, okay, a lot of it lies in your head. So you got to make sure your head's steady. When people are doing like this, they get the head to turn, it's going to throw their body. So if you see when I do this on a profile, I'm going to keep this rooted, my body, and I'm going to keep my head steady. So on a kick, it's just a chamber. A lot of people will lean and their head will go back, and that'll throw their balance. You just want to make sure that you just create a chamber, okay? If you're kicking like this and you let fall, then it's going to pull you down. You have to create a kick here chamber. And you see how I'm stable that way? So you want to chamber by bringing your knee, your ankle through the knee. Don't draw down to the ground because that's what's going to start to make you feel like you're being pulled. So when you're chambering in, think of your joints because that's how we move, right? We move through our joints. So you got to think of how each point in your joint works. So once I kick, I actually pull my toes in and bring it in. Then I'm going to turn my wrist with my hip, and I'm going to turn my ankle, and that's how I'm going to get my low side kick out. So when you're getting your chamber from here, then I just chamber and I come back down. So just remember, you're not throwing your kick, you are snapping it. You are creating like you would a stab to someone. It's very short burst kicks. So it's not feel like you have to throw and you're pulling away from yourself. They're made to be close quarter. They're not made for long range. So even though these kicks look like they're high, they're tight and high. They're not this high like this, where you feel like you're pulling away. They're tight. They're close to you. So I'm here. I'm actually close. So I'm not creating throwing up my body. I'm not trying to reach for him. I actually have my arm in contact, so I have a reference point to know where his body is, and then I'm going to use my legs accordingly to that. Okay? So Chung Kyo is about the mid-range fighting. Now, that doesn't mean that you fight long, but it's mainly designed to play at mid-range. So around the forearms to the elbow. This is the range they play. So you're not out here playing. You're playing from here. So when I'm here tight, I want to feel like I'm tight to a person. So you can see I'm here to the jong. You can see I'm not that far. I'm not here. I'm not doing this where I feel like I'm extending. I'm actually tight. I'm playing in a tight mid-range. So that's where you want to be when you're playing a Chung Kyo. So you just want to think of it like that.
Magical desk is going to lower down. Woo. All right. So we have a couple more questions in our email. Philip says, during Chi Sao, when is the correct timing for the inside pack punch from Bong Fook or Fook Tan? By my school, it is one way, but I see others do it differently.
When they strike and your hand's in the position where your wrist, when your palm is ready to turn. So basically, if you're on the inside, you always want that palm like this and turn and facing forward. So at any time you can turn into it. So it is at any time. It's a question is how. Some people like this and they go from the shoulders, they push from their arms. If a guy punches real hard, it's not going to stop because you're not turning the point. You're actually pushing it. And if you're pushing against a strong point, it will not stop. So mainly whenever I'm in a roll, I can go from like a bong here and turn into a pong. You see, pax out, not pong, a pax out. You can see for wrist turn. So no matter any time, I always want to get the energy out here towards that palm area. So when I'm turning, I'm always having it so it feels like it's right here. Once that starts to leave, people start to push because once your wrist loses ability to drive energy, then the shoulder will kick in automatically. It's a natural state that your body will do. So if you feel your shoulders kicking in, it means you drop the energy off your wrist and you're not doing the technique right. But a pax out can occur at any time in any part of the roll as long as you get the energy in your palm. So as long as you keep it here, you can always pack into it, you know. It won't matter as long as you're wristed. And you can go from that into any deflection. I can go from here into hook. I can go from here to a bill because my wrist has the energy to turn, and that's the key. You got to keep it in your wrist. So you can take any deflection and make it work from any point of the roll, as long as you get the energy in your wrist and you have your base. Just as you also have your base control, which is that shoulder to the elbow. That's your base control. If that doesn't exist, then your wrist won't exist either. So you got to have the base control, and then from there you got to feed it to the wrist, and then the wrist job is to turn to that point to handle it.
Awesome. Guy says, I understand that the bottom of the body, legs, is a reflection of the top of the body, arms. To correctly punch, we have to drop the shoulder, sink the elbow, and end with a wrist punch. How do you reflect that for kicks, and how do you drop the hips, sink the knee, and finish with the ankle foot? Could you please demonstrate?
I just did the Chung Kyo. No, that's fine. When you're rooting, okay, when you're kicking, the key is making sure that your hips turn and your knees bend. So if I'm kicking, it always feels like I'm drawing. So no matter what I'm doing, if I'm going to do a front kick, I want that root. See how I put my root? And then from there, I get my chamber. And then there, I snap my leg. So it's very quick that way. So if I'm doing like a slant kick, I'm going to root. And then I'm going to bring it in. So you can see I have that flexing from there. Like this is my shoulder, my elbow. Then the elbow to the wrist is this, and the turn of the wrist to the point, which is like, let's say I'm gonna do a slank, I'm gonna pull my toes towards my shin, and I'm gonna turn them outward. So I turn my toes outward so I can turn the ankle into whatever I'm kicking at. So if I'm doing like a jong kick, I'm here, I want position for the knee, like a sight of a gun, my base right there, and my root, and then I'm gonna turn my toes outward to let the heel drive forward. So I'm kicking very quick, so it's like, and all your kicks should feel like they're snapping. You shouldn't feel like you have to thrust. A lot of times when people say, well, if you don't thrust, then someone can force the weight on you. It's like, yes and no. It's kind of like this. If someone were to come at you and you stab them with a knife, let's say it was a 5-inch knife and you stab them, do you think they would still go through? More likely they'll keel over, but the point at which you hit will go backwards, and their body may go forward, but they'll go backwards from the point you hit. So you're not, I always say, like, when you hit, you're not trying to move them backwards. You're not trying to move them away. The goal is to drop them where they stand. And most of the time when the people hit and they concave in, they drop from the concaving of the pressure because that's where you hit them. But you're never physically trying to move them away. It's a wrong mental state because then you're going to want to throw in your weight. Because if you see a 280-pound guy coming at you, you're going to see that mass. You're going to try to beat that with a harder force to beat that mass. You don't need to. If you took a pencil and you stabbed him, he'll buckle. Because you're not trying to go against his mass. You're trying to create a weak point in which you make contact to, and then all the energy wants to go there. Because what's the nature of energy? It wants to go the path of least resistance. So if I can break the point and make that the path of least resistance, his whole entire force will go there. So that's what you want to do when you kick. You want to make them snap. You want to make the chamber tight, and you get your power from your root, right? I always talk about you get forward energy 2 ways, okay? One of 2 ways. You can do it through the root, or you can do it through the lean. So some people will create a lean into it, and the other people sink into it. And we choose the sinking because if you lean, it's based on your size. You know, you're throwing a 110-pound guy going against a 250, and you're throwing your weight, you're going to bounce right off. If you have root, you're going to use the earth to help send you up. So the better you can get your root down, the more you get the energy to come up, and then you can focus that to the point which you need. So we go for the root all the time. If you're a big guy, it can work well with you. But remember, if a guy's parrying you, he steps to the side, you can't recover from it. And that's the bad thing about trying to do that. You want to have the ability to recover, because if he can counter you, you need to be able to counter from getting hit. So if you're committed to it and you can't recoup from it, you're going to get hit. So small bursts, all our movements are small bursts. We never want to throw elongated movements. Not saying we won't have reach. Like we can have reach in terms of like this, but they're bursts. So you can see my body sink, you can see me move, but you don't see me elongate where it's coming off my root, where I'm throwing my weight. You don't want that. That's hard to recover from. And it takes more energy to do, by the way. Okay, whereas the earth, when I hit down, it's going to push up, and then I'm getting energy from the earth's resistance. You know, as long as you're not stepping on mud or quicksand, you know, as long as you have hard surface, you can use that energy to come up, and so it's less force for you to have to drive from. But if you're throwing your weight, you're actually using your body weight, so you have to throw your mass, but also you got to use that to recover from, because it's overcommitting you. Whereas if you're striking here and you're going for the strike down and you're going to use that ground up, you have more energy to use, and it's less for you to have to recover from, because you always feel the ground. You always want to feel rooted through that. So hope that answers your question. Okay, I guess I'll read this one.
Oh, no. This one's did you want me to cover this one? All right, this one's more for Sifu, Larry, and I, because we're the one that put it on the playlist. So Dominic,
I really like this desk. Okay.
I know. So Dominic says, I've been watching some videos of Adam Misner, found him on the Enter Tai Chi playlist, and I'm dumbfounded by the students' reactions. It seems like as soon as he touches them, he becomes aware of their stiffness and is able to control them until they're hopping around and falling over. It always looks like the students are faking it, real or fake. I don't think it's fake.
There's some stuff, listen, there's some stuff where if you watch on YouTube is absolutely fake.
That you can tell is fake. Like you have to really be able to see the energy. The reality is
a lot of people have terrible balance, terrible stability. They don't know how to feel energy. And if you are not good at feeling energy, you look pretty foolish.
I was going to say,
someone is very balanced, they can do that. I think some people think some of the stuff that I do is fake, or some of the stuff that Sifu Phu does is fake. It's not fake. It's just the person it's being done to isn't at the same caliber as the person doing it.
When you can feel the energy on such a minute level and you know how to control it and move it, that's why we put it there, because we actually like what he's doing. He's really good at what he does, as well as Sifu Phu. So we're like, oh, wow, someone else that like gets it. So anytime we see someone else that gets it, we like to add a little playlist so we can see other people that are doing it. But once you can see the energy, you can tell whether it's fake or not. But for someone that doesn't know what the energy looks like, they're going to go, oh, yeah, that's probably fake or whatever. But I can tell you there's been times where I'm training with Sifu Larry, and he's like made me go all over the place in all kinds of crazy different ways. And I'm sure if we filmed it, people would be like, oh, she's faking that. But I'm not. So can you add to that?
Yeah, because you got to understand that the reason why some people bounce real hard when it's done right is because the energy that they're exerting is being converted back to them. So they're feeling that force come right back to them, and that's why their body will move. But I've seen videos where I've seen a Tai Chi master demonstrate push hands to this guy, and this guy fell all over the place. And I'm like, okay, if you look at the speed in which the guy's moving, you know, he's just giving a light push, and he's flying 10 feet backwards.
Right.
You know, if you talk about physics, you know, if I'm giving you a force that's only 5 pounds of pressure, you're not going to get 100 pounds of pressure coming back at you when the teacher's going like this and moving very slowly. Right. And remember, you can look at it because you can look at the speed. It's not because you did some mystical thing where he just barely moves and the guy flies 100 miles an hour. That's absurd. you can't deny physics and science. I mean, it exists for this reason. That's why we have buildings. That's why we have jets. That's why we all do based on physics. It's real and calculable. When someone's going like this and she's pushing me like this, and I just go, I guess, at that slow rate, and they're flying 100 miles an hour backwards, that's just garbage. You cannot see the energy move and build up. It's one thing when she's pushing me, let's say, and you see me go, wow, and you see that speed build, and you see the acceleration, and then you can see the high energy, then yeah, they can fly, especially if they're fighting it. It can make them go backwards. But not when it's something very slow, and they're like, okay, I do like this, and the guy's flying. It's just garbage. Right. It's just total garbage. Look at the speed. I mean, the speed will measure out the force, right? Yeah. Right. Speed is mass times acceleration, which gives you your force. And how does power exist? Power is force over area. So the question is how fast is he moving? How tight is he moving? If he's moving fast, but he's like this, they go, oh, and the guy's flying. You can see his shoulder throw, his body lean. Then it's not good. You know, I don't just look at the effect of someone does. I look at the teacher. At their body. I look at the opponent as well as the teacher, and I can see what's real, what's fake, because I can tell. You know, there's slight little movements. Someone does like, and somebody's flying. It's garbage. It's total garbage. But if you can see like, boom, you see a snap that accelerates, and you can see that, you can tell.
Yeah.
You know?
And so, I think maybe we should do some videos with Sifu Phu as well as Sifu Larry, just to like demonstrate, because like they can make you like move all kinds of crazy and all over the place just by filling your weak points and stuff like that when you're playing, because it probably will look fake to most people. So I definitely want to demonstrate that. So if you haven't, you know, seen that and you're not able to recognize the energy, just to show like it's real when it's done right. If someone else doesn't know how to counter that, obviously. And just so you guys can see different stuff and see us playing with different energies and movements and whatever, just so you can see that. And hopefully that'll help you figure out if maybe be able to watch other people's videos and be able to point out, okay, this is fake and this is real.
But yeah, when you say, it's more of a channeling look than a large burst of energy, remember, channeling is returning one's energy to them, couple that with yours.
Right.
So if you don't see a lot of movement, then that's not a lot of energy. I mean, if they're moving slowly and then they fly away, you can't get that. You cannot do this slow and expect somebody to move 10 times faster than that. You can't. You know, try hit something this slow and see how far it travels with that.
Right. Yeah, it is a channeling look, which is why we put it there. We're not going to ever like just realize this, Dominic. We're never ever going to like add a playlist of someone that's like crap or sucks or whatever like that. First of all, we're not into making fun of other people and you know, trying to discredit them or whatever. If we put something on a playlist, it's because it's something that we see is an honorable thing, as well as something that is good and people can learn from, that we think is cool and neat. So Greg says speed equals distance time, force equals mass acceleration, pressure equals force area.
Oh, right.
Yes, indeed. He claims he's moving more internally than externally. You can't understand it because you're not at that point yet, bro. It just is what it is. Like, you know, like Sifu Larry says, you're an amoeba right now. And you gotta, you know, move up the chain.
Like I said, you can look at videos and you can just see. Like, I don't care how internally you move. Okay, physics is still physics. You don't beat it. There's no such thing as internal movement is 10,000 times faster than your physical movement.
Oh yeah. No, these guys are flying. Like he said, you can definitely tell it's a channeling look. So once you're able to do more internal energy stuff, or feel more internal energy stuff, or even like look at Sifu Phu stuff or Sifu Larry stuff and watch how they move, you can tell, like you can go, okay, if you record yourself, Dominic, like you've been doing, you can go, okay, I can see that I made this mistake. I'm doing this wrong. Why? Because you can see the energy's wrong. So just think of that.
And just look at motion. In order for you to channel energy, it's never a straight line. There's always an arc behind a line. If there's just a straight line where someone's just going, just pushing, it's not right. Right. There has to be an arc. So because you got to take a force that's this way coming at you. You got to turn it around. The only way to turn it around is make it like a half a circle or a quarter circle or a spiral, whatever it is, to what degree you need. But there has to be an arc behind it. Without an arc, if you don't see a guy just moving an arc to return energy, he's not doing it. If he's just going like this and just pushing straight in, then the guy's faking it. He's not real. But there's always has to be an arc behind every movement you make with the line that you have in order to channel energy. Without it, you know, you can't do it. And if you see the shoulder rotate, go up, then he's not doing it either, because that's energy says to go backwards. The nature of energy wants to go past the least resistance. So if you see a guy moving his shoulders up, he's doing like this, he's getting the push.
Right.
He's using strength to make it work. He's not really using the energy. He's
there's definitely lots of different things. So if you think of the energy principles we teach you, you can really look at the autonomy of someone's body, how they're moving, are their shoulders up, whatever's going on, are they forcing, are they not forcing? So just think of all the principles that we teach you when you go watch these different videos on YouTube, and you'll be able to start picking them up more. Even like when Sifu Larry and I start watching like martial arts videos, or just different things like where a fight goes on or something, even if it's not martial arts, I'm always going, okay, this person's using their shoulder, they're doing this, they're doing that, or they're using the wrist, or they're not using the wrist. Just play it like it's like a game to me. Like I'm always going, okay, can I see how people are moving, what they're doing wrong, what they're doing right? And that'll just help you be better in your own training too. So if you watch the type of movies, check them out and, see what you're doing. Or if you watch, if you've ever looked at some of those silly fights that people post on Facebook or YouTube, you can see what people are doing wrong. And a lot of times I'm like, wow, if these people actually knew how to fight, like that fight would have been over in like 2.5 seconds and they're fighting 10 minutes later. Well, clearly they don't know how to fight.
Oh, it's also a movie.
Well, no, I'm talking about some of the real life stuff on YouTube as well. Yeah. Sifu Larry says, Ian,
Yang style.
We teach the Yang style of Tai Chi.
Hey, Vinny. But
Hey,
style,
Vinny,
yes.
how's it going?
I do my basis of the Yang style. That's the basis of it. But we use the Ngo Dac Na to make the Yang style what it is for us. So if you consider it, it's more Ngo Dac Na. It's the Tai Chi that I do is different from a lot of Yang style they do. I've seen some Yang stylists, and I've met and I've worked with them, and they're different from us because they don't adhere to the energy principle that we do as much. They know how to move energy, but they don't control energy. We teach how to control the energy. They learn how to move it, but that's not the same as controlling it. Moving means you can do free range, and there's no pressure that's dictating that you have to learn to control. We teach you how to control that when it's under that pressure.
Yep, absolutely. David, I'm going to go ahead and save. Well, actually, there's no way for me to save that last question. So I guess we'll cover it real quick. Ian said, cool. We learned Chen here. Awesome. Good stuff, brother. There's no bad form of
I did Chen style, and that was a tough one.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
A lot of pressure on my knees. That's why I gave it up, because a lot of that low sitting,
low,
and after a while, I was practicing like couple hours a day with it just to get it. And I talked to my teacher, and I was like, why is my knees hurt? Is it ever? And he told me, like, a lot of people do it when they're younger, but as they get older, they stray away from the Chen style because it's a lot of stress on the knees. They start changing it to other styles like Yang or Wu style, because Chen is very stressful on the knees.
It's definitely more labor intensive. Our daughters go to Wushu, and their master, Master Lee, he does teach the Chen style, and it's really interesting to physically see the differences and stuff. It definitely is something that requires a lot more flexibility and body strength. So David says, in addition to after the last kick of Chum Kyul is complete, would you talk about the balanced transition to the Gum Sao?
Okay, the last kick from there. Once you do the last kick here, what we want to do is we want to create the chamber from the knee and the elbow. So you want to feel the elbow and the knee come together like that. So a lot of people will pull back into their shoulders. You don't want to feel the pull back in the shoulders. You don't feel the pull back in your leg. You want to get from the kick here. You want to create the chamber. So you want to try to bend from the knee and the elbow. And then you think of your hands and your feet like a string on a puppet. You want to pull it in together. When you bring your leg down, your hand's going to go up, and you're going to draw your leg down with your hand. The key is to make sure that the energy stays in your wrist. You don't want to look like it's pulling into your elbows. So you can see that swing. It looks like it's coming here. Under pressure, it'll collapse. You want to think of the heaviness from the shoulder to elbow and turn your wrist so it comes down and forward like this. If you do that technique that way, anytime you hit someone's arm, they're going to feel like you broke it. It's with the speed that you put behind it. It is very, very powerful. All the energy wants to go forward. If you do this, once you make hit, it's going to go back up and it's going to roll in your shoulders, and you won't be able to sustain the pressure. You want to feel the root. At all times, we always emphasize and stress on what a root should be. So when you get your kick from here to chamber here like this, you just want to chamber in. And you notice I use my wrist and my waist together. It's a compilation of the two that helps you to get your unity and your connection. So and then from here, it's how the wrist turns. You see, what we do is we create this turn and this strive up. You got to get your base there, and you got to get your pop, because without that, under pressure, you'll collapse. So Sifu Larry? Yes, sir. Come give me a hook punch. Was that the bad one?
This is my bad side.
So we're going to go like this. So if I go like this, and he swings to my ear, and he touches my ear, and I go like this, and I'm going to get hit, okay? The idea is to get your base, because the reason why we have to have a base is we have to have something that can withstand the impact. You have to have something that once you get hit, you have to have something that can stop you from collapsing. Because if I'm doing like this, and he gives me a little bit of swing, it's going to bounce, and I'm going to generally bounce because I don't have enough structure. So you got to have something that gives you a base. Now, that base is important because from that base, I have my upward drive, which is why in Chun Kyu, you go like this and you pop. Because then he punches and gives me hope. No, give me hard.
Yeah.
Don't hit me though. No, but
he's got a lot of power.
So he's going to hit me. So I'm going to show you. Don't pull your punches. Just like give me a hook punch. Don't pull it. Just keep driving if you can.
Okay.
So I'm going to have him punch. And you can see
I'm gonna knock him out.
The idea is we are not to withstand the punch. We're not to try to hold it where don't hit me. But we're trying to hold. You got to move it. Okay? If something came at you really hard, like it would hurt your hand. But if you can make it go up, you're not getting the full impact of it. You're going to get anywhere from less than half to 10%, depending on how well you can drive and torque the wrist. So when he's giving you a punch, the idea is just to pop it. And you see his shoulders go up. The reason why we do that pop is because, one, I can uproot his force. So when he's punching me, as I pop him, his arm's going to go up. It's going to take away his strength. But at the same time, his force drives me in because I push from down to up. It's going to root me, which makes me stronger. So because of his force and my driving technique, I'm going to make him weaker at the same time, make myself stronger. That's what we call pop it, don't stop it. We take the punch that we just pop it. So it doesn't matter because he'll pop.
It matters. It hurts.
Not to me.
It hurts me.
But the idea is you have to learn how to drive everything through the wrist. And in order to get that wrist energy, you got to get your base because that base is going to drive up for you and then the wrist has to turn. So when you go from this transition from the kick, it's all in how your wrist does it. From this is the kick. Here the slant. I chamber from that and here. So the two together, chambered. I turn my wrist down this way as it was kick. And then I chamber up and I get the lay on my hand. And then I just turn the wrist. And again, I don't pull, I don't lift. I turn, I sit and I pop. I root, but I come up on the root. And the reason why you do that is because you're going to get that forward energy and the popping energy at the same time. So no matter how strong a guy punches you, if he arcs. Now, unless he counter turns me with his wrist, then I have to adjust. But if he's using force, there's no way that's going to come in. He's only driving force. He's not steering it. I'm choosing to create structure to steer. I'm not just steering. I can't steer without structure. I'll collapse immediately under a punch. I will collapse immediately. I have to have some type of structure to move energy with. So my structure is there, and then I just pop the difference, and then I can use whatever I want. Okay? So and you see me kind of come down. That's my root. That's how I root myself to a root, and then I can use that root to generate power to hit. So rooting is the key. Turning from the waist and the wrist, making sure you connect. Always create the base drive so you can drive up with that forward drive, and then the control is in the torque. Hold that up.
Right on. All right, so we're a little bit past our time, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Whoops, hold on. Malfunctioning. But I do have one more thing that someone sent, and they wanted to know how to get our ebook. Well, that depends. If you've already signed up at entershaolin.com/ebook, or you're already a member, which members do not go to that /ebook and re-sign up because you're going to get kicked out of your membership, and then it's going to be messy and ugly, and no one's not going to have any fun. So don't do that. But if you're not
getting the membership back, you have to pay for a new one. You're considered a new student now.
No, it just makes it really messy with your billing and stuff because it'll cancel your billing because you can only be one membership type at a time. So if you've already a member or you're an Enter member and already signed up at the entershaolin.com /ebook, then all you have to do is log in. And when you go to log in, you should watch that welcome video because that welcome video actually explains everything. And then I'll have less questions and then I can do more stuff for Enter Shaolin and we're all going to be happy. But below that, there is the Ngo Dac Na intro. If you go into that section, that is where the ebook is, as well as the 5 free videos. Plus, every week, Sifu Larry puts in a sample video from the vault for people that are not paid members yet, so you can see what it looks like to be a paid member and get some of our full lessons. There's also some of our webinar replays as bonuses in there, lots of goodies. And it's also a great place if you're just getting started with Enter Shaolin as a full member to just go and get some basics and get started as well. So that's where it's at. It'll always be available to you. You never have to re-sign back up to get the ebook or the 5-day video series. It's in the Ngo Dac Na intro section. Very simple. So I just wanted to cover that real quick. And I just want to thank everyone for being on Facebook as well as here live with us on the webinar. We really appreciate you all coming out. And for those of you that can't be here live and you send in your questions, it just helps us to have a really awesome webinar. Hopefully you guys love it. Richard says, thanks, you guys rock. You rock too, brother. We really appreciate you being here.
Let other people know. If you have friends that train and have questions, they can come here and ask.
Yeah.
We'll only charge them $5 per word.
Actually, if you want, you can also become one of our affiliate members. You can go to entershaolin.com/affiliate and share. And if someone signs up under your link, you get some money. If you want to share us for free and not get any monetary compensation, we're cool with that too. This replay will be up on YouTube at youtube.com/Enter Shaolin, as well as it's going to be in our Friday update with some other goodies for you and the new training. And Melanie says, I did share the live webinar. Thank you. Appreciate that. And yeah, if you're on Facebook, you can share the replay on our facebook.com/Enter Shaolin. And you can just send that out to all your friends. If you're any groups that are related to martial arts or that you think would enjoy it, you can share them to that as well. The more you guys get the word out, the more we can do for you, because the faster Enter Shaolin grows, like we want to get those DVDs made and we want to have more seminars, which I'll be giving a survey in this update for today that's coming out later, with a survey for everyone to let me know if they'll be able to come to our Washington, D.C. seminar or our Pittsburgh or both. I know Marlon already said he is game for both and already put the dates into his calendar. So we would love to be able to have both for you guys.
I would love to come.
Right? We'd love to go. We'd love to come and be there for both of them. So we will be sending out that, and that's going to go out to not just members, but we'll send out the survey to everyone, even our fans as well, because we'd love to have you. You don't have to just be a member. You can be a fan and come and check us out too. And if we get at least 20 people to say yes to both or either one, then we will have either both or one, and we'll let you know, and we'll start taking registration early so we can go ahead and figure out the hotel for Washington, D.C., and everyone can make their travel plans. So that's what we're working on behind the scenes today. And yeah, so have a great rest of your day and enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next week at the regular time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And think of some questions.
Yes. And send them at support@entershaolin.com. If you can't make it, no problem. You can always watch the answer on the replay. So have a great weekend. Bye, everyone.
Bye.